Welcome! If you're in English 1301, we're about to demystify one of the most important skills you'll build this semester. We're going to talk about how to level up your logic.
So let's just get right to it. You've probably seen that word logic on a rubric or in a comment on a paper and thought, what do they really mean by that? It's more than just making sense. It's about building a really solid, convincing case for your ideas.
Okay, here's the official, kind of formal definition from the program learning outcomes for the course. Now, don't worry about all the academic language. Just zoom in on a couple of keywords here. Analysis of evidence. That's the heart of it, right there. Logic isn't just about what you think. It's about proving your point using specific details from your story or your research.
To really make this click, we're not just going to talk about abstract rules. Nah, we're going to follow the journey of a real student writer, Alex Garcia. We'll watch as he develops the logic in his literacy narrative, taking it from a pretty basic idea to a much, much deeper conclusion.
All right, so here's the conclusion from Alex's very first draft. And, it's a solid start. It's relatable, it's a lesson we've all probably learned. But you'll notice it kind of stays on the surface. This is pretty typical of what a level 1 conclusion looks like. It's a good thought, but it hasn't really been proven by the story just yet. So what makes this a level 1? Well, the main thing is that it relies on really general statements. If you keep trying, you'll get better. That could be true for anyone in any situation. The logic feels a little weak because Alex hasn't shown us exactly how the specific events of his story lead to this big takeaway. The connections just aren't clearly drawn yet.
So let's see how Alex starts to build on this. This is where the real work of writing and thinking kicks in, during revision. He starts pushing past those simple statements and begins a more complex analysis of what his experience actually means. Now check this out. In his next draft, Alex refines his conclusion to what we'd call a level 2, or an emerging performance. You can already see the shift, can't you? He's using more precise words like persistence and patience. The link to his story about learning to read is definitely getting stronger. But you know what? The analysis could still go even deeper. And here it is. This is the jump to a level 3 conclusion. And what a leap it is. Notice he's not just talking about trying hard anymore. He's actually analyzing the meaning of struggle itself. The insight here is so much more profound. Struggling doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you might need a new strategy. That's a game changer. Seeing them side by side like this really makes the growth crystal clear, doesn't it? Alex goes from a pretty generic lesson to a deep conclusion that comes directly from his specific experience. He's not just telling us what happened anymore. He's interpreting what it all means. And that, right there, is the crucial point. Strong logic isn't about just listing your evidence or telling a story. It's about taking that step back and explaining the significance, answering the so what question. That analysis is what forges the strong logical chain in your writing. Okay, that's great for Alex, but how can you make this happen in your own writing? Let's get you set up with a toolkit. Think of these as practical steps you can take to dig deeper and really strengthen the architecture of your own arguments. You should totally use this as a checklist before you turn in a paper. But pay close attention to number 3. Analyze, don't just describe. Seriously, ask yourself, am I just telling the story or am I explaining what it means? That one question, what does this evidence suggest, is probably the most powerful tool you have for leveling up your logic. And here are a few more power-ups for your thinking. I love question assumptions. That means asking yourself, is my first thought the only way to look at this? These are the kinds of moves that lead to really original, insightful, and logical analysis. And always come back to that last one. So what? Why should your reader care? So as you dive into your own essays this semester, just remember that developing your logic is a process. It's a skill you build through drafting and revising, just like Alex did. It's not going to be perfect on the first try. And honestly, that's the whole point. And ultimately, this is what it's all about. The goal is to build something that's strong, insightful, and really well supported by your evidence. Your writing should show your reader not just what you think, but how you got there, step by logical step. And that's really the question to carry with you into your next paper. Your writing tells the story of your thinking. So what story will you tell? All right, so in our last explainer, we totally focused on leveling up your logic, right? That's all about building a solid, strong argument. But now we get to unlock your other superpower. Think of it like this. If logic is the engine that powers your writing, then creativity, well, creativity is the spark that actually brings the whole thing to life. So let's just get one thing straight right off the bat. When we talk about creativity in a class like this, we are not talking about some kind of magical gift that only a few lucky people have. Nope. Think of creativity as a skill. It's a muscle you can actually build up with practice, a lot of revision, and yeah, a little bit of courage.
Okay, so here's the official definition, our program learning outcome number 2. It says creativity is about combining or synthesizing existing ideas in original ways. So what does that actually mean? It's all about those 3 little words: combining, synthesizing, and making it original. And you know what's really important here? This isn't about pulling ideas out of thin air. It's about taking things that are already out there, ideas, your experiences, facts, and mixing them together in a way that's fresh and new. So, to put it even more simply, creativity is really just about 2 things: making those fresh connections and, just as importantly, developing your own unique voice. It's about looking at the same stuff everyone else sees, but noticing a pattern no one else has. It's about finding your angle, your perspective, and having the confidence to put that on the page. That's what's going to make your writing truly yours, and that's what will make it pop. All right, so to really see how this works, we're going to do exactly what we did for the logic explainer. We're going to follow the journey of a student writer, Alex Garcia. We'll look at how one single idea in his writing evolves over a few drafts, and you'll get to see, step by step, what leveling up your creativity actually looks like. Okay, check this out. This is Alex's first stab at describing his struggles with reading. We'd call this a level 2, or an emerging performance. And honestly, it's a really solid start. He's using a metaphor, which is a classic creative move, and a puzzle with missing pieces. You immediately get it, right? You can just feel that sense of frustration. But now watch what happens when he revises. He goes from that puzzle to a map. Just take a second. Can you feel how different that is? A map is so much more active, so much more powerful. It's not just describing a problem that's sitting there, it's explaining his entire world. He was lost, everything around him was a language he couldn't read, and suddenly literacy is the tool, the map, that lets him find his way.
And that right there is the creative leap in his thinking. A puzzle is just broken. It's passive. But a map? A map is a tool. It's about empowerment, about taking action. That one little change in a word shows a way deeper, way more creative understanding of what he went through. He's not just telling us how he felt anymore. He's actually analyzing the experience itself. Okay, brace yourselves, because here comes the next huge jump. He goes from the level 3 map all the way to a level 5 foundation. Whoa! See what he did there? Alex isn't just talking about his own story of being lost anymore. He's now making a bigger, much more creative point about the whole system of education. Reading isn't just a personal map, it's the foundation for everything else you learn. He's connecting his story to this massive social idea. That's synthesis in action. And that brings us here, to his advanced performance. Just listen to this opening line. The voice is so confident, so mature. The thinking is on another level. He's completely reframed the whole topic. Literacy isn't just a thing you learn, it's a gateway and a barrier. This is what we're aiming for. This is the absolute peak of academic creativity, blending your own story with huge ideas to create something totally new and powerful.
Okay, so seeing Alex's journey is pretty awesome, right? But the big question is, how do you do that in your own writing? How do you make those kinds of creative jumps? Well, let's get practical. It's time to build your own creativity toolkit. So here are some concrete things you can do. This is like your checklist for leveling up. Think about it. Alex explored unexpected connections, right? He didn't just stick with reading is hard. He connected it to puzzles, maps, even architecture. He also developed his voice. I mean, that last draft just sounds like him. So use these 6 steps to really push your own thinking past that first obvious idea.
And you know what? If you take away only one thing, let it be this question. Ask yourself this constantly. Am I just describing what happened, or am I actually revealing what it all means? This question is everything. It's the bridge from just telling a story to actually doing some heavy-duty analysis. Description tells your reader the what, but creative insight? That gives them the so what. And that's where the magic happens.
And if you want a few more power-ups for your brain, here you go. These questions are specifically designed to knock you off your usual path of thinking. And I gotta say, that first one is my personal favorite. What if the common understanding is just wrong?
challenge everything. And please always come back to that last one. Why should my reader care? If you can answer that in a way that's fresh and surprising, you are absolutely crushing it. All right, let's start to bring this all home. We've spent time on logic, and now we've dived deep into creativity. And the most important thing to remember is that these aren't two separate things. They're partners. They work together on this big journey of developing how you think and how you write. And here it is, the big takeaway. Logic builds the skeleton of your writing. It gives it structure, makes it strong, and makes sure the whole thing doesn't fall apart. But creativity? Oh, creativity is what gives that skeleton a soul. It's the spark, the voice, the unique insight. It's what makes your writing breathe. At the end of the day, every single thing you write is a story about how your mind works. It shows off the logical connections you can build and the creative risks you're brave enough to take. So, I'm going to leave you with the exact same question we ended our logic explainer with, but now it means something even more. Your writing tells the story of your thinking. So, what story will you tell?